TNA Wrestling. Wow, big things happening for the company. They made another big announcement today. It's just so many things going on. And the talent, the roster, it's just amazing. Hey, the Knockouts have been amazing for a long time. They really were a big part of the revolution, of the evolution of women's wrestling. And just going through the list, the men and the women, it's just the incredible talent, incredible shows. Everything's going good. Access TV, they're streaming pay-per-views, a lot of stuff going on. And just, recently returning to TNA Wrestling, what an outstanding talent. The amount of things that she's accomplished, and she's still in her 20s, basically. We're getting there, but I won't go to the exact age. But the thing is, it's just amazing to see her come back. It's just incredible, and I really want to talk a lot about that. So, Tessa Blanchard, thank you so much. It's so great to have you back in TNA Wrestling. Here we can see you in the States. We'd have to go through social media to try to find you wrestling somewhere. So, although nowadays everyone can see everybody wrestling everywhere, and it's just such an exciting time. TNA Wrestling Genesis, January 19th in the Big D, Dallas, and then San Antonio, January 23rd. It'll be live on Access TV. That's cool. And then again from San Antonio, January 24th. That'll be taped for Access TV. Tessa, what is it like returning to TNA Wrestling, especially at this time?
It's just, honestly, it's an incredible feeling. I've been away from TNA Wrestling since it was Impact Wrestling. So it's been a minute. And when I came back, I wanted to make a statement. I wanted to send a message. When I came back, I wanted to remind people not only who Tessa Blanchard is, but who Tessa Blanchard has become. And who better to do that with than with the top dog, with Jordynne Grace. She is an absolute powerhouse right now. She is on the mouths of everyone. She's one of the greatest, she's become one of the greatest female wrestlers that there is. We're both history makers in different ways. She's done things that no companies, no women have ever done, but so have I. And when I left the company for a few years, I was at the top of the mountain. I was the only woman in all of combat sports that's won a heavyweight championship. I was facing the likes of Brian Cage, Rich Swann, Josh Alexander, Ethan Page, Eddie Edwards. The list goes on, some of the greats. And when I left, it kind of left this hole, this space for someone to go take the ball and run with it. And that's what Jordynne Grace did, was she took the ball, she ran with it. She's transformed her body, her work ethic. She's become just an absolute unstoppable force. And that was until I came back. And now I want my ball back. So I'm here. I'm ready for this Sunday. I stay ready so I don't have to get ready. And I'm completely focused on sending that message, delivering it this Sunday at the Curtis Colwell Center in Dallas, Texas.
It's interesting about all that, because just going right away after Jordynne Grace, and she's the top of the top right now, and she's done, like you have done, so many things, as you mentioned. I'm curious, how did this formation, and you don't have to pull the curtain back all the way, but just about you coming back to TNA Wrestling, was it a conversation with Gail Kim, talking to Tommy Dreamer? How did that all formulate, or whatever you could tell us about that formulating to get you back into TNA Wrestling?
Sure. So last January, Scott D'Amore and Gail Kim had reached out about having me at Hard to Kill and having me come back, and how poetic that would be, because that's where I won the World Heavyweight Championship, and we were right here in Dallas. And it didn't feel like the right time. I was living in Mexico City, I still am, and working with Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, which is CMLL. And I was just so happy. I found this happiness that I had lost for so long. I fell in love with the culture, the people, wrestling in Arena Mexico. It's something I can't put words to. And I wasn't ready to let go of that happiness yet. I found a place where nobody judged me, or if they did, they just didn't care. And I didn't want to give that up. I found my peace. And then I put into perspective all of the goals that I have personally in life. I've got an age where I don't want to be a wrestler past, hopefully. And I've got this desire to have a family one day. And putting all of those things, prioritizing what I need to outside of wrestling, if I wanted to find success and chase that unfinished business that I say that I have. I never want to be a what if. So I was like, it's time to return to the US in television in the US and go back to the place that it all kind of paused. And TNA was the place to do that. And so everything kind of happened very, very quickly. And I'm talking about within a few weeks, maybe even a couple weeks. It was me flying from Mexico City to Atlanta. I had the discussions I needed to with CMLL and ended up leaving there very amicably, the doors open, hopefully to go back one day, because that would be a dream to finish out my career in CMLL or whatever God has for me. But I will always hold CMLL, Senor Luteroth, all of those females. Julio Cesar Rivera is a very close friend of mine. I hope I'll hold them close to my heart forever. I still go to Arena Mexico to support my friends, my partner, and to experience the magic that is Arena Mexico. But personally, for my goals, it was time to finish out my story, or to continue it, I should say. And that was with TNA Wrestling right now.
And it's so amazing because I find fascinating too in your wrestling career. Taya has been instrumental in so many big matches that you've had all around. And I'm curious, and then even Gail Kim, you wrestled Gail Kim, I believe, in TNA Wrestling. And I'm just, what do you think? You mentioned Jordan Grace. What do you think about that? And also, what do you think about the current roster that they have, and especially the women's side?
Sure. Taya and I had an iconic feud for TNA Wrestling. It went on and it went on and it went on. And I was always here and Taya was always right here. She just couldn't get to right where I was. And so that's something that kept our feud just going and going. And it was hot. We had fights in Mexico City. We had fights all over the United States. We had fights in Canada and title fights, our championship fights. It was something I'm grateful for in my career. And then we both kind of moved on in our own way. And now to have that fight with Gail Kim, that's something that I'll also hold so close to me. I will remember that forever, because I will always say Gail Kim was before her time. She was when the divas were divas, Gail Kim was fighting for what women's wrestling is right now. And to get to experience a fight with a wrestler like her, that was just magic to me. It was a moment for me, for my career, something I'll hold with me forever. And hopefully one day we can get Gail back at it. That'll take a lot of convincing, but I would love it. And then just with all the talent that there is right now, with this new partnership with WWE and TNA, it's like the possibilities are endless. NXT is so full of such phenomenal females. The likes of Stephanie Vaquer, her and I had so many fights over in CMLL that I was speaking with her not too long ago, and we're like, oh, maybe we'll get to mix it up again one day. And seeing some of their newer talents like Keilani Jordan, Sol Ruka, they're phenomenal females that I wasn't really familiar with until I started watching NXT again. Someone like Roxanne Perez, I remember when she was just starting to train, and she came to some of my seminars, and I would help her out in the ring. It's so cool to see their success and what they've become. And then TNA, we've also got all these new faces and these phenomenal females that we want to clash together. We want to go and do that. So this partnership is going to be something special. Seeing all these new faces and the hopes of all these possibilities of different matches is endless and exciting. And it's an exciting time to be a part of TNA Wrestling.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it was announced today, this huge announcement.
Yes.
WWE and TNA Wrestling announced multi-year partnership. NXT Superstars TNA Wrestling starts to appear across weekly WWE and TNA programs, WWE Premium Live Events, and TNA pay-per-views. So it's just, Tessa, just in generally speaking, do you ever think you'd see the day where we'd have so much cross-promotion, especially with WWE?
I don't think anyone could say that, but now that it's here, it's like, yeah, let's kick the flipping door down. Let's do the damn thing. There's matches that people have talked about for 11 plus years now, such as a Blanchard versus a Flair again. Like, let's see it. And now these possibilities, like, they're not so far-fetched.
It's just great timing, and it's so much fun. And Tessa, I mean, when you think about it, the history that your family's had, you guys, TNA Wrestling is going to be in San Antonio, January 23rd and January 24th. That's so cool. Just the history with Southwest Championship Wrestling. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out from way back when, from my old days.
The first ever professional wrestling to make it to cable television. And my grandfather, the founder of Southwest Championship Wrestling, we're going to San Antonio, Blanchard territory. So if you don't have your tickets yet, it's time to get them, because that is going to be something historical. It's going to be a blast from the past, and it's going to be special to be a part of. You're going to see a Blanchard in front of the camera and probably a Blanchard backstage supporting.
Yes, that's what I like to hear, Tessa. You're breaking news right here with that one, Tessa Blanchard. Isn't that funny, though? Because Granddad made history, your father made history, all the family members made history. You're making history in pro wrestling, and I do want to. I can't make it take too much of your time. I get sometimes I get all so amped up, but I want to go with this because this is so interesting to me. So, Slammiversary, first intergender match to headline a pro wrestling pay-per-view. TNA Wrestling, you're against Sami Callihan. That's unbelievable. Then you not only won the Knockouts title, but you also won the TNA, well, I'll say the men's title. We say TNA women's title, Knockouts, TNA men's title. They don't ever use the men's, but that's another story for another time. But you were champion on both sides of the spectrum there. What was that like? Is that something still intergender wrestling? Is that something still that you want to go into and try to just take over again?
You know, I'm very blessed for all of the history making moments I've gotten to be a part of. And it's not just me, it's the other person in the ring as well. Sami and I did that together. And I'm very grateful for Sami for everything that he did for me over the course of that 8 months program. He's phenomenal at what he does. And there's so many guys like that I feel very blessed to have been a participant in that locker room, to have worked with people such as Brian Cage, Eddie Edwards, the Rascals, Trey and Zach and Desmond, Josh Alexander, someone who I don't think gets enough credit, Ethan Page. It was great to be a part of that locker room and learn from so many of them. As far as the intergender tag main event, that was the first time that's ever been done in combat sports. And it was something that we didn't know was going to happen until right before it happened. The main event was scheduled to be Michael Elgin versus Brian Cage, I believe. And then that day, maybe like hours before the match, it got switched up and we were just shocked. So another history-making moment, to win different titles in this company with the knowledge of how talented the locker rooms are. That's something that I'll hold with me forever. But it's important to know how blessed I am to have gotten to work with so many of those people, and to be back and have the hopes to work with them again. It's just incredible to me. Like, it's something that no one saw coming, not even myself. As far as chasing after intergender wrestling again, I'm not going to say never say never, right? But right now my focus is the Knockouts locker room, and my focus is this Sunday with Jordan Grace.
And this is just, again, incredible time. TNA Wrestling Genesis, January 19th, Dallas. Covered a lot of things. I'm going to cover 2 more things and let's get you out of here. I find this interesting, and if you're not going to admit it, I'm going to admit it.
Okay.
Tessa Blanchard is the most famous person to come out of Ardrey-Kell High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Go Knights!
Go Knights! Go Knights! That's right, Ardrey-Kell High School. You know, I was looking up, and I think, like, it because it talks about Ardrey-Kell alumni, and I think that the guy that does the bottle flip.
No, I didn't know
the guy
that. I didn't know that. I know what you're talking
water
about.
bottle. I went to school with him, I guess. I saw that online. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I think there's also like a few pro soccer players or something.
Football, baseball. Yes, I looked at the list too, Tessa. And that's why I'm saying you're the most famous. But hey, I'll say this. The bottle flipping guy's got that's a close second, Tessa. In my around.
That went viral.
And Tessa, and briefly, if you can, talk about, you were in track. I didn't know this. You were a track competitor. I mean, you don't want to brag about yourself, but how good of a track? Were you like all district or all city or no? I mean,
I ran track and field. I was always a distance runner, so I did the mile and the 800. And then I remember I did a long jump and a shot put event just for one meet because someone had gotten injured and I was the stand-in. But I was always a distance runner. I think my fastest mile was 5:58. It's not going to be that now, but that was back in school. I did some cheerleading. I did some soccer. I've always been an athlete. So you mix the musical theater obsession with athletes and it's like, boom, pro wrestling at its finest.
Were you in Taming of the Shrew? I want to know this. Were you in Taming of the Shrew in high school? Come on, guys and dolls.
We did Aladdin. We did Grease. We did The Music Man.
Oh, the Music Man's great. I love the Music Man.
I was a townsperson.
Yes, you're a townsperson. All right. Oh, good. And Tessa, wow. Just speaking of acting, so you got to be a stunt double, bringing aside for Florence Pugh in Fighting with My Family. And that was a story of Paige, and The Rock was executive producer on that. Just what was it like being involved with that? And I know you were stunt double, so you weren't on the acting side of it. But is acting something that you want to do later on or whenever you can? I
would love to act. It would be a dream to be in a movie because it was always my first love before wrestling was acting. And to be a part of the Fighting with My Family movie, I remember WWE had called me and they said, hey, we're sending you to Los Angeles, pack for 3 days or for 3 months. And I was like, well, that's very different. 3 days or 3 months. But it was my first time out to Los Angeles and I'm getting picked up and I'm getting treated like a queen. And it was just insane to me. This whole, like, I'm such a young kid and this is my first experience like this. And we get to the next morning, we go to a studio, like an address that they gave us. And I see Zelina Vega and Dave Taylor. And there was 2 other females there. And we were trying out for this movie. So they take pictures, look at our body shape, and watch us work in the ring, ask us if we're capable of doing certain moves. And after a few hours, they say, all right, we're going to go with Tessa, and they send the other ones home. And then later that day, Vince Vaughn walks in, and Vince Vaughn is asking us questions about wrestling and if we can teach him to run the ropes a little and really trying to hone in on like being the coach of NXT. And that was mind-blowing to me because I'm like, wow, like this is my first real experience in dealing with people from Hollywood. I think driving over to set, Vince Vaughn was like on the phone with his wife and he's like, I can you handle this for a second? And I'm like, this is crazy. But then later we get to train with The Rock, and The Rock, I guess, didn't know who my family background, my wrestling background or anything. I was just, a wrestler they brought in to do the stunts. And so fast forward, we're training with him. I'm pretty sure I covered him and he kicked out and actually hit me in the face a little bit on accident. And he's like apologizing up and down. And I'm like, it's totally okay. I'm fine. I'm like, I'll remember this forever. So it was a really cool moment working on that movie. And I remember after Raw, it was treated as an extension of Raw. We got to film the final scene of the movie, and they had Florence go out and map out different things in the ring to grab her face. And then I went out and Zelina and I had a match in front of the Monday Night Raw crowd in Los Angeles at the what is now Crypto Center, but before Staples Center. And there were different wrestling fans who had recognized me, and I was so blown away by that. And after the match, The Rock's manager, Dwayne's manager, had come to Zelina and I and said, can you guys come to his locker room? He wants to speak with you guys. And there was a bunch of people and all his family, his wife, his daughter. And we got to meet them. And he told me, he was like, I didn't know that your family was who they were. I just thought you were a phenomenal wrestler. And that meant a lot to me. And then meeting his daughter, Simone, who's now in wrestling. Her and I became friends after that, at that experience. And she told Zelina and I that night watching us wrestle, she has a necklace that has that date on it. She says that's when she decided she wanted to get into wrestling. And that was a crazy thing to us. So after that, Dwayne says, we're going to send Tessa to the UK. I was never originally meant to go to the UK to finish the movie. And they send me out there. I'm there for about 3 months. And we finished filming the movie out there. And I work with Lena Headey, who I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. That was insane to me. And then working with all the actors out there, it was really cool for me. So no, I would never write off being in a movie in the future. It's something I would absolutely love. I would even love to do my own stunts if I got to act in a movie. And it's an experience that I'll hold close to me. It's something that I'm very blessed and thankful, not only to Dwayne, to WWE, but to all the people that participated in it.
Tessa, that was a phenomenal story. Thank you so much for your time. I'll wrap it up with this. We got TNA Wrestling Genesis, January 19th in Dallas, the Big D. And then we also have TNA Wrestling Impact Live, January 23rd, San Antonio, Access TV live show. It'll be cool to watch it live. And then January 24th, tapings for Access TV in San Antonio, former home of Southwest Championship Wrestling. I believe that's awesome. The Blanchard family, it's just cool. I've got my North Carolina. I'm switching hats to North Carolina.
I'm here for it. I see it.
That's for you, Tessa Blanchard. And hey, I'm going to end this with this. Give a shout out, Tessa. You can always give a shout out to Dr. Ross. If anything's happening, Dr. Ross will help. So that's always good. And lastly, Ethan Page, because you mentioned Ethan. I won't go into the whole story, Tessa, but you inspired Ethan Page, believe it or not. There was something that you said to him to get his body better, to get his body in better shape. He took, but I know years ago, but you were in a locker, everybody's talking, and you were like, look, man, you got to get a better look here. And he says, you know what? She was right. And he did that. He credits you for that. I wanted to share that with you before we go. Thank you so much, Tessa Blanchard.
You know what, Ethan, if you watch this, you and your wife owe me a Mario Kart date on Nintendo Switch. I miss you guys.
Thank you, Tessa.